So today we're going to start our webinar with Cathy Bates. She started Practical Solutions in 2003 out of a desire to help people gain control of their surroundings so they have more time for what is important to them. She and her staff help clients organize their existing space, creating a tranquil space where they can enjoy life. They also help clients downsize and move into smaller spaces seamlessly without all of the stress that comes with moving. Cathy has been married to Todd for 29 years, and they have 3 adult children, ages 25, 23, and 21. So welcome. If you can start just telling us a little bit about yourself before we start with some of the questions.
Yes, definitely. I started my business out in 2003. Like you said, I just loved organizing and I wanted to do something I was passionate about rather than the normal, I was working in accounting and marketing. So it started off just me organizing people's homes, and then it just expanded. We saw the need in the senior industry to make their moves seamless. And then also, helping them age in place, because some seniors are better off at home and staying put. So in that case, we help them, make the space livable. Sometimes we get called in when the space is so cluttered and they can't, safely get around with a walker or a wheelchair and things like that. So we do a little bit of everything when it comes to organizing and moving.
Great. I'll start with the first question, and I know that you have also a presentation that you would like to share with us as we go through the questions. So my first question is, should I stay or should I go? What are the pros and cons for a senior?
Definitely, and I am going to share my screen because I do have some slides. So here we go. This is the start of things. So yes, definitely, that's the first question. Should I stay or should I go? And today we'll hit all of these things. We'll talk about options for living, because some people don't understand all the different options for seniors. Questions to consider. How to equip your home to stay put, maybe resources you need for the move, and then ways in which adult children can support their seniors who are doing either aging in place or moving. But the first is to understand the options. I think it's really something people don't understand. You'll hear people say, I don't want to go to a nursing home. And that's what we used to think back in the day, that, if you left your home, you went to a nursing home. And a nursing home is actually considered skilled nursing. And that is really, once you are really, it's almost like a hospital. So there are so many options that weren't there years ago. So when a senior thinks about this, they really need to understand what their options are. Because there is, in senior living communities, some are called continuing care communities, and they provide all of these levels of care so that you move into one place and you progress through the levels. You can live independently. When you need assistance, you can get assistance. If you have need memory care, you can go there. If you, on your last days and need skilled nursing, you can go there. But some are one or the other, or a couple of them. And so independent living is something people don't think of very often. These are just communities where everyone is the same age and the same stage in life. You see this picture is a good representation of these places. They're almost like country club living. They have restaurant style meals, 3 meals a day, 1 meal a day, whatever you want. They have different options. And you don't really get any assistance with everyday life, but there's enough right there where you don't have to leave your home. If you want to get your hair done, if you need grocery shopping, they usually have a bus going. So for someone who is needing a little bit of help, it does provide a safe place for them to live where they have support. Assisted living means that it's kind of like the independent living, but someone comes in to maybe help with bathing, dressing, light housekeeping, whatever they need. Memory care is pretty clear. That's when a lot of people with memory issues stay in assisted living for a very long time. But when they begin to wander or get violent in any way, it's usually good to move them into a memory care, more safe, secure place where they can't wander off. And then skilled nursing, like I said, is kind of usually something covered by your benefits through Medicare. And it's, almost like hospital care. It's one step below that. Then there's always a smaller house or an apartment. Sometimes people don't have houses, they don't live in houses that can be modified. So they can't do anything about the fact that they have stairs or different levels in the house or things that just make it hard to live there. So they want to move to a smaller house or apartment. And then there's always like the mother-in-law suite if they come to live with family. And all of these options, I can't say that one is more cost effective, less cost effective. It just all depends on the situation of the person. And you do have to look at the fact that when you move to a community, your utilities are paid, you don't have lawn service, you don't have pool service, you don't have all these things you're paying for, your utilities are lower. Or if you move to a smaller house or an apartment that doesn't require lawn care, your costs will definitely go down. And a lot of people just do that even at my age because they think, okay, my kids are out of the house. I want to travel more. I want less house to take care of. I want to put more towards retirement. And so why am I wasting all this money on a big house that we don't even use? And then a mother-in-law suite is always a great situation for a lot of people. But again, you've got to know that you're going to have to provide a lot of care for that person who is living with you, and pulling them away from their friends is not always a good idea. But we'll talk about that a little bit more. So these are some things to consider. Is your current home accessible? And, there's a lot of things you can do. We're going to talk about aging in place and modifications you can make to make your home accessible. Some houses, it's just not going to happen. And I'll tell you the really funny thing is when I move people to like a 1-bedroom apartment from a 4-bedroom house, I find all of their health issues get a little bit better because they're not walking way back to the back of the house every time they need to go to the bathroom, to their bedroom. Everything's closer quarters and they can get around a lot better. Do you have the support you need? And this could be, physical support, or it could just be family, friends, things like that. A lot of times people, that live into their 90s realize, oh, my friends are gone and I want to move closer to my family. But also, you don't want to take them away from their friendships because then you're going to need to provide all of those relationships for them. It's hard for them to make new friends at that age, unless they're in a senior living community where everybody's at the same level and has moved in there and doesn't really know people. Are you using all of the space you have? Like I said, if you've got a huge bedroom and you're finding you don't even step into 3 of the 4 bedrooms, you might just say, I don't need all this space. Could you save money by downsizing? We discussed that a little bit. And it really can cut. You've got to think utilities, mortgage, all the different things that you are not paying for anymore. Would a different living situation require less work? I know my clients are so apprehensive when they go to move. It's really hard. You're leaving maybe 50 years in a home, all the memories of raising your kids and all, you just don't think you can make that change. But when they do, they realize, gosh, I'm so glad I don't have to worry about, even if they had a lawn service or had a pool service, they're not having to manage those anymore and cleaning that whole house. So it could require less work. And is your current situation becoming a burden on your children? And that might be a situation where, you're digging your heels in, you want to live independently, but your kids are having to fly out every other month when you aren't doing well and you need help. And that doesn't necessarily mean you need to fly and move close to them. That's usually the first thought for children, but the importance of friendships and stability in your community could outweigh the benefit of being close to family. And so that would be where maybe a smaller space with caregivers or a senior community could help out.
Quick question. So how about if it's the other way around? If it's that the seniors don't want to make the move because they're helping their children, their adult children who are living with them, but but they are in a position where they might need some help, but it's right now they're helping the children instead of the children helping them.
And sometimes that can be good. One thing I do in my business is I am always looking out for the best interest of the senior. And the sad part is their kids aren't always doing that. Sometimes there is a wonderful child that actually may be in a place in their life where they just went through a divorce or financially can't do it on their own. And they provide a perfect companion for their parent and the help they need to make sure they're taking their medications, they're taking care of themselves, and it's the perfect mesh. But so many times I get frustrated because I see the kids still relying on their parents, 60s, 70s, still relying on their parents. And I think I've actually had a couple of my seniors who admitted they were moving to a senior community because the rules were nobody could spend the night or a week, or there were parameters on it, so no one can live with them. And that's what they wanted. They wanted to get away from those kids that should be at that point in life helping their parents, but are still needing help from their parents.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, because I have seen that situation, happen where the seniors are in a tough situation, but then again, they don't want to make that move. And I guess it's really going to end up having to, someday the day's going to come eventually where they were probably going to have to make the decision.
And I think that senior has to be looking at taking care of themselves. I mean, when you're in 70s, 80s, 90s, it's time to say, what do I need so that I can be more comfortable and not, kids shouldn't still be relying on you at that point.
Or also, I have also seen when they are in, they really need to because they're not they don't have very good health, but they don't want to because they're so attached to their home and they just don't want to make the change. So for those that decide that they want to stay home, they want to age in place, how can they adapt the home to be able to stay there longer?
Yeah, you bet. Read a list of some things that I've seen work really well. Of course, there are many, many more than this. But these are some of the more common ones. Sometimes it is more cost effective to stay at home, to get the care you need and adapt your house. And some people are just honestly more comfortable in their home. Maybe they're a little more, they're not total social beings. They like their privacy. They like their space. In a senior community, you are eating with other people. You're doing activities with other people. That works great for some people, but some people, including my parents, I know this would be something I would encourage them to do, is to age in place and to modify. But one thing we get called into a lot is to declutter. So, people, especially hoarders, we do a lot of hoarding jobs, and they've collected. It hasn't been a problem because they didn't have mobility issues. But all of a sudden they fall and they break their hip, which is very common in hoarders' houses because there is so much stuff to trip over. And now they need to walk with a walker. So decluttering is always good. And I can't tell you how happy people are when we have cleaned out all their closets, even when they're empty as can be, or just have a couple of things in them, and they know that they have total control over their home. So they have a big house, but they're not looking at that bedroom that's a catch-all and going, I don't even know what's in those boxes. That causes so much anxiety and stress, but being able to have control over your house helps you to enjoy life a little bit better and to get around better. There are ramps you can put to get into your house. There are lifts you can put on stairs. Stairs are one of those things that are really hard to deal with. There all are lifts, or sometimes people will, take out a closet and put in an elevator. So you can work around stairs if you have to. Grab bars are excellent. You see this picture of the bathroom, the grab bars, the seat where you can sit. Those things are amazing and make it so much easier for seniors. And also having no lip on the shower entry. So if you need a wheelchair or something, you can just get in, or nothing to trip over. Doorways sometimes need to be accommodated. To accommodate a wheelchair, need to be widened. It's a lot of work, but it can be done. And most doorways work. It's usually that bathroom door, couple of them in the house. Definitely carpet is a problem if you have a walker or a wheelchair. So a lot of times you want to put in a solid flooring, maybe even a laminate that is, doesn't have any kind of seams. You don't want any seams in the house if you've got a walker or a wheelchair. And then a lift chair is like a recliner, but it helps the senior get up and down. It raises and kind of almost like scoots them out and then goes back down. And those can be great for people that are having problems getting in and out. You know how sometimes you'll be with a senior and they'll say, oh, I can't sit in that really soft chair, I'll never get up. These recliners allow them to lift out. Hiring help is at some point necessary. Home caregivers will do light housekeeping and light cooking, just meal prep, running errands, things like that. That's always a good thing to start with. Lawn care, most by then are, have lawn care provided. A good person to come in and clean every once in a while. Just take care of those tasks that are becoming difficult.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So how does your or a moving or senior move manager can help throughout this so that it's less stressful?
Yeah, definitely. So let's see. Yeah, so this is actually, these are pictures of my team. My team is amazing, but they compassionately help people through the process. So sometimes kids, even with their best intentions, can frustrate their parents, and it causes friction. So I say, get a third party out there to help. We'll involve the kids as much as they want. Some are wonderful with their parents. Some think the idea of downsizing is to order a dumpster and let's just toss it all in there. So we try to make sure that that person feels like they are respected, their stuff is respected, and if they don't need it any longer, we're going to make sure it finds a home. That somebody is going to need it. That might be taking books to the library. I have a lot of teachers we help downsize, and we make sure all of those years worth of teaching materials get to maybe a young teacher that needs them. So we try to get really creative in making sure their things go to someone who needs it. But when we start to move someone, the first thing we do is create a floor plan for them. Usually the new community will give them a floor plan, and that's just a drawing of what the rooms look like. We put it to scale, then we have a magnetic board with little pieces of furniture, and we just let them play with it and say, they might say, oh, I have, like a sofa, a love seat, 2 recliners, 2 chairs, coffee table, and they'll list all this stuff. And we let them visualize what it's going to look like. And it's usually, that would be too much furniture. So we're not going to say, no, you can't take that. We're going to let them look at it, and then we're going to give them options. I know you love the recliners. How about we take the recliners and a love seat, and work out what's going to work. We make the space work for them. And the important thing about a senior living community is you can't think about using it for entertaining or overnight guests. This space is for you, and you want to have the most comfortable seating, not your fancy living room furniture. You want practical things like the recliners and things where you find yourself living every day. So we help them decide what to take and visualize it, and then, lay it out so that when the movers bring it in, everything's numbered and they can just look at the floor plan and say where it goes. We compassionately help them sort through their belongings and make good decisions on what to take. And that's the hardest thing, is just, they are overwhelmed when they look at a house that's 3 times the size of the place they're going. And how am I going to get rid of all this? We just walk them through and say, the important thing is to think about your new lifestyle and what do you need? Instead of 3 sets of china, do you just need 1? Instead of, 2 cabinets worth of glasses, can we get it down to 8 of each size? And just walking them through things like that, pulling it all out, letting them sort through it. We'll make shipments to their kids and their other family if they have things that need to go to them. They could, we can send it all over the place, little small shipments. But yeah, helping them go through it and make good decisions, and then getting them down to what is important to them and what they need, and then finding homes for the rest. Or we have estate sale companies we work with that can sell the things. Then we do the pack, move, and unpack in a really efficient manner so that they are not living out of boxes. They have everything they need while they're transitioning. So like, even if we do the pack the day before the move, we're going to leave out their coffee maker, their bed's going to be made, their towels, their bathroom things. And then we pack those up the morning when they're loading the truck. And then those are the first things to get out. And then we unpack the entire house normally on the day of the move. All the boxes are gone. We've hung their towels, made their beds, even hang pictures. We leave and it looks like home. We also pay a lot of attention to detail of where everything was, so that, their bedside table is set up exactly like it was. All the different things are similar to what they were in the old house, so it's easy for them to find everything they're looking for. So that is really important. And it's real funny whenever we move somebody, the neighbors always walk by and go, "What? You're already unpacked? It looks like you've been here for years. I still have boxes." So you'll be the envy of all of your neighbors. We also provide reliable resources in any area. So when customers come to me and they say, "I need a trash hauler," or even a realtor, whatever they need, we can make recommendations. So we are kind of a one-stop shop, and they don't have to rely on a bunch of different people and trying to keep track of everything. We kind of manage that all for them. And then a lot of times people want to try to sell things. And like I said, we have estate sale companies we work with. If that doesn't work, we try some other avenues. And a lot of times people don't care about making any money on it, but they want to make sure it goes to a good cause. So we find a charity that they feel good about and get their donations to the charity.
Wow, that's great. It definitely will make it less stressful, because just the thought of moving, regardless of the age.
Yes, it gets harder and harder as we age.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we also help young people move every once in a while, just because
Oh, good.
we want it easy.
Oh, wow. So how can an adult how can their adult children help
You bet.
during this transition?
So this is something I've learned through the years. Like I said, kids always have good intentions, but sometimes they just, maybe it's a lack of time or patience. And, sometimes our parents can be trying. It's not always easy. And I think that parents are more likely with their children to express themselves a lot more than they would with us. With us, they think, okay, first of all, the funny thing is they always respect us. And I tell the kids, I said, don't feel bad. Your parents are giving us way too much credit. They think we're the expert. We understand you're doing a great job. The child will say something, then we say it, and they think, "Oh yes, that's right." And then I'm like, the kid's going, "I just said that." So it is a really hard thing, and that's why having that third party is helpful. And then the kids can concentrate on just supporting their parents and helping them through the transition, whether it be aging in place or moving. But this is going to be more towards moving. But obviously, treating your parents with respect. It is one of those things that will go very far, and it'll make that relationship better. And let your parents choose between options that are all acceptable. So like, for instance, when I was talking about us doing the floor plan, we don't say, well, do you want to take all of this, or do you want to take these 3 items? We say, You could take the 2 recliners in the love seat, or you could take those 2 occasional chairs and the sofa. And we give them options, but they're all acceptable. We don't give them the option of everything because it's not going to fit. But letting them choose, even when it comes to senior living, like they are still able to make these decisions, and they want to make these decisions. They don't want to feel, they're already kind of beginning to feel like their independence is being taken from them. So during this transition, we want them to feel like they're making the decisions, and that's going to be important, even when it comes to where they're going. And remember that their friends are an important support system. This is something I see all the time. I'm moving, I think next week, 3 people, 2 to Virginia and 1 to Maryland, to be near their kids. And sometimes that is the best situation. But sometimes I feel like that person is going to really struggle because they're relying just on their children for their social life. And those kids are busy with their kids, with sports, with their jobs. They're just, not always able to give them the time they need. So they miss being around other people their age where maybe they can play cards or whatever. So it's important, if you do move them, is to get them integrated quickly. And a senior living community obviously does that naturally, but if not, senior centers are great for that, making sure they have a place to go and meet other people their age, church groups, whatever. It's always a good idea if your parents have not done this. The 2 sessions I've listened into have been wonderful about estate attorneys and all that they can do for you. It is really important to have your affairs in order. That's going to help your parents feel better. That's going to help make it easier for you as they do begin to age, because, if they begin to have memory issues, you want to make sure they made these decisions while they had their mental capacity. And it's nice to have everything in order because, as we know in California, if you own a house, you pretty much need a trust. So to make sure that all of the affairs are in order, power of attorney has been granted, just, they've made decisions on whether they want do not resuscitate disorder and all those things. So those are important things to talk about. Make sure things they don't want to take with them get passed on to someone who can. And sometimes kids will take things and it makes their parents feel so much better. So if you just use it for a little bit or you pass it on to your kids, it's nice for them to feel like things got passed down through the family. And then after they move, this is considering they're moving, make sure you keep in touch with them. The first couple weeks are going to be hard. When we move someone, I make sure I always go and take cookies, sit down and just talk to them, call them, whatever it is, and hear how they're doing, because there are going to be things that are going to frustrate them. Any kind of change is not easy. And as we get older, it gets harder and harder. So for that senior, they're going to move in and they're going to say, I don't really like the food. They don't do laundry as often as I do laundry. Or I don't like the way they play the card game. And you're going to hear things like, and those are just little things that are part of change. And sometimes they just need to be heard. You don't have to solve all the problems for them. They'll get through it, they'll work through it and transition, just like all of us do. Anytime I've moved, I get so frustrated with the new grocery store where I don't know where everything is, and all those little things that you're so used to in your old house. And for them, it's even more so.
Right. And I'm just curious, have you ever experienced where, let's say, I don't know, there's something that maybe the adult child doesn't think it's that important, but the senior does, and
always
the child says, like, hey, you need to let go, and the parent's like, no, I don't want to. Have you ever been in that situation?
Yes. I mean, there can be a lot of drama in senior move management. There are people, that, and that's why I think it's important to respect that client and try to make all of their wishes come true. It can't always, we can't make miracles happen. I don't have a magic wand, but to at least make them feel like they're heard. And we tried to make this happen, but we weren't able to. Like for instance, right now with this pandemic, we can't have estate sales. So the people we're moving are just going to have to be happy with everything being donated. And even that donation may be down the road because things can't even be donated right now. So we're having to get really creative. But again, just knowing that we did our best to accommodate the things they wanted. And, you know, kids will get frustrated and they'll say, Mom, there's no way that's going to happen. And that's just not going to get anybody anywhere.
Right, right. So what about the times when, let's say, the senior is still active, still strong and healthy, and but maybe it's time to move. I mean, or they're not sure if they should move closer to their kids.
Right.
Have you experienced that with your
Yeah,
clients?
and I always encourage that senior to walk through some of those questions we ask to see if this is right for them, because it's so easy for them to go, well, that's what my child wants me to do. And it's like, no, but what do you want? Let's make sure you're going to be happy with this move.
Okay.
It can be hard.
So, how about right now with everything that's going on, you know, with pandemic and so many things that we've heard, you know, senior communities and senior centers, and, you know, family can't go visit their seniors.
Right.
How can they help? How can the children help or support the parents so that they don't feel they're alone?
Yes, this has been something that I have, you know, been dealing with a lot lately. Because we're not busy, I've been taking the time to call all of the people we've moved, all of the people maybe we were in the process of moving that got put on hold. And honestly, they're just pretty lonely. They're used to going, if they're in a senior community, they're used to going down for meals. Instead, they're locked up. All their activities have been taken away. And if, you know, if they live alone, they're sitting alone in an apartment with nothing to do and nobody to talk to. So I find it's funny, whether they're at home or in a senior living community, I'm calling them and I'll stay on the phone with them for an hour. They just need to talk. They need to kind of express some of their fears. And so I think for kids, just making sure you're taking the time to reach out to them, hopefully daily. Call, FaceTime. All these seniors are learning FaceTime, and that's a lot of fun. They're realizing how much they enjoy it. But I think listening to and acknowledging their concerns, not saying, oh, no, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. There are concerns. I will say most of the concerns are at the skilled nursing. That is where, you know, the disease is spreading and like wildfire. Most of the independent and assisted living, they are staying in their rooms. Independent's having no contact. Assisted living is having limited contact. So they're not quite experiencing as much, but they are experiencing the loneliness. But to listen to them, they may have friends that are sick. They may have just feel like their life is out of control, like we all do. But just listening to them and then trying not to dwell on the negative. You know, don't say, oh yeah, I was listening to the news. And, you know, all these poor little seniors are doing is sitting there listening to the news. They got so much negative stuff coming in. Maybe encourage them to listen to something else, but also to share something encouraging. You know, maybe something that's going well, totally unrelated. Talk about unrelated things. Talk about your kids. Talk about something positive. To keep their mind off of all that's going on. And then drop off or send treats. Maybe you go to the grocery store and buy some of their favorite foods. And you can drop it off and they'll take it to your loved one. Or you can maybe even send it in the mail, like a care package, almost like when our kids were in college. And then mailing them notes, pictures, craft projects from the kids. I have an unofficially adopted daughter with 2 little boys. And they made me like a little stained glass that came in the mail the other day. Busy, you know, doing all kinds of little projects. And that's fun. Send some of those projects to the grandparent. And I talked to one lady the other day and she said, we're trying to make sure my mom has someone sending her a card every day. So she's getting mail. And then send packages with activities. This is what somebody else told me. They were buying books, puzzles, game books, even a paint by number, whatever that parent might enjoy. It's something to keep their mind off of what's going on and maybe to keep them from watching the news and to feel like I think one of the things a lot of us are struggling with is not feeling productive. We're so used to this hurried pace of go, 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 work, 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 that we're going, okay, I'm not so busy. I don't know what to do with myself. And especially I think for us business owners, you're sitting there going, I need to be doing something, but no, maybe I don't. Maybe I just need to be making sure all my seniors are called, making sure my parents are called every day and see how they're doing. And then through our phone calls with everyone, we have identified some needs. So we have continued to follow up, and maybe they said, oh, I need to order my groceries online, but I haven't been able to figure it out. We'll walk them through it. And we don't charge anything for these services. Also, a lot of our seniors didn't have masks. And so we were making these t-shirt masks. They're real quick and easy. They're not gorgeous. They're not the pretty ones everybody's making, but they're real comfortable for the seniors. They go around the ears with their soft t-shirt material. And we've been mailing those to them and just meeting the little needs that they're expressing concern about.
Yeah, I would, because one of the things that I've been kind of thinking also, like if they're having to be, isolated because of everything that's going on, and like you mentioned, they're hearing the news with the negative stuff, and that could probably even make them depressed or anxious.
Yeah, it definitely does. Yes.
So I think helping them by keeping in touch with them. I know that as it is, when I've had seniors that I've helped sell their homes, mm-hmm. they just enjoy talking and just spending that time. And it might not be related to whatever you're helping them with, but they're always they always have something to talk about.
Yes. And they are lonely. And also, I think when they're going through a transition like that, they need a lot of hand holding. They need somebody to guide them, not to feel like somebody's going to come in and boss them around and tell them what they can and can't do, but to say, hey, we're at the point where we have all of these things you don't want. Do you want to have an estate sale, or do you want to donate them? And giving them clear, simple options rather than them looking at the overwhelming task and not knowing where to begin.
Right. So I don't know if anyone, I'm trying to see if anyone has posted any questions for us. See if we, I'm trying to look here to see if there's any questions on either Zoom or Facebook. I don't think I see any more. Okay. So before we finish, I just want, I want you to, give us your information just in case someone is interested in your services.
Yes, and these links, if you want a copy of the slide presentation, just email me. All of my information is at the bottom there. You can email me and ask for that. And then we have a newsletter that is monthly that gives some organizing tips and advice, downsizing, aging in place, all those different subjects in our newsletter. You can subscribe to that at no charge. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, also Pinterest and things like that, but Twitter. I luckily have somebody that does all that for me. But right now, if you think you do just want some advice, we're doing a 15-minute free needs analysis over the phone. We'll be glad to talk to you about anything you need. We're even doing virtual organizing. So we're trying to meet the needs during this time. Obviously, still doing essential jobs. Next week, we have 3 moves. So
yeah,
during this time, that's a lot, especially with our limited staff. So.
Yeah, wow, that's great. And I've been following your Facebook page, and I've seen the different things that you've been posting with ideas on organizing and different you
Yes.
know, motivating people to actually do different stuff. And I think that's great.
Yes, and it is surprising during this time the number of people who are organizing. The first week, people started, getting told to stay at home from work before it was really an order. The calls were rolling in saying, I'm off work. I want to organize. And I'm thinking, yeah, but we really shouldn't be going to your house. So what can I do to help these people? And so we did come up with a 30-day declutter challenge that takes you through every room of your home, every category. So like when you go to the kitchen, we did dishes, glasses, all these different things. And it just kind of walks you through one step at a time, because when you look at the overall project, sometimes it can be quite overwhelming. But if you say, hey, my job today is just to look at my glasses and see if there are any I can get rid of, or look at my pots and pans and see if there are some I don't use anymore. And the bad part is people are going to have to hoard up their donations for a while. Just clearly mark them, set them aside, hopefully make a little area in your garage where you can keep them, because the donation companies are not working right now. I think there's one Salvation Army in Temecula where you can drop off, and they're here and there open, but they're not taking the big stuff, only the small stuff. So yeah, you might have to hold on to it for a while. Please, please don't drop it on their doorstep, because these charities are having to pay a lot of money to have these things hauled to the dump when people leave them there when they're closed. So
I have heard, because recently there was someone who had moved, and they wanted to donate a lot of stuff, and it turned out that they were closed. They weren't taking any donations.
yeah,
Like, hey, we gotta wait.
I know we have house full of stuff next week that we are going to have to, hopefully the realtor is going to be kind enough to let us keep it in the garage for a while. Otherwise, the only alternative is to take it to the dump, and we don't want to do that. So,
Right, yeah, yeah. Yeah, okay, so I think I don't see any more questions that are coming in. So, I mean, I think it was very useful information, and I think it's so important because a lot of times as children, we don't really know how to also help our parents so that they have a better or a smoother move if that's what they need to do, or to even decide, because we might think you guys need to move because you need help, but then there might be other options also if the parent doesn't want to move,
yes,
or if they do want to move, how to help them so that it's not as
right.
stressful.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me on and letting me share.
Thank you. So I'll go ahead, and what I'll do is this video was recorded. I know some people are asking for previous videos. I have this recorded, and also the other ones that I have them on YouTube. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll post the link to the YouTube channel so that whoever wants to go back and view any of the videos can do that. And for those who registered, I'll go ahead and send an email as well. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, Cathy. And
thanks for having me.
Thank
If you
you.
have
Thanks.
questions, just contact me.
Great.